I'm going to ask a question where you can only answer by saying either yes, no, or it's complicated. All right? So let's start over here. Is some form of superintelligence possible, Jan? Yes, no, or it's complicated?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
No.
This was disappointing. We didn't find any disagreements. Let's try harder. Just because it's possible doesn't mean it's actually going to happen. So before I asked if superintelligence is possible at all, according to the laws of physics, now I'm asking, will it actually happen? Yes, no, or it's complicated?
A little bit complicated, but yes.
Yes, and if it doesn't, something terrible has happened to prevent it.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, probably. Yes.
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 No.
Shucks, still haven't found any interesting disagreements. We need to try harder still. Okay. So you think it is going to happen, but would you actually like it to happen at some point? Yes, no, or it's complicated?
Complicated, leaning towards yes.
It's complicated.
Yes.
Yes. It's really complicated.
Yes.
It's complicated.
Very complicated.
Like, depends on which kind.
All right. So it's getting a little bit more interested. When, I think we had a really fascinating, when is it going to happen? Well, we had a really fascinating discussion already in this morning's panel about when we might get to human level AI. So that would sort of put a lower bound. In the interest of time, I think we don't need to rehash the question of when going beyond that might start. But let's ask a very related question to the one that just came up here. Namely the question of, well, if something starts to happen, if you get some sort of recursive self-improvement or some other process whereby intelligence in machines starts to take off very, very rapidly, there's always a time scale associated with this. And there I hope we can finally find some real serious disagreements to argue about here. Now, some people have been envisioning this scenario where it goes boom, and things happen in days or hours or less, whereas others envision that it will happen, but it might take thousands of years or decades. So if you think of some sort of doubling time, some sort of rough time scale on which things get dramatically better, what time scale would you guess at, Jan?
I'm thinking of years, but it's important to act as if this timeline was shorter.
Yeah, I actually don't really trust my intuitions here. I have intuitions that we're thinking of years, but I also think human level AI is a mirage. It's going to be suddenly better than human, but whether that's going to be a full intelligence explosion quickly, I don't know.
I think it partly depends on the architecture that ends up delivering human level AI. So it's the kind of neuroscience-inspired AI that we seem to be building at the moment that needs to be trained and have experience and other things to gain knowledge. It may be on the order of a few years, so possibly even a decade.
I think some numbers of years are, but it could also be much less. But I would be surprised if it was much more.
Yeah, potentially days or shorter, especially if it's AI researchers designing AI researchers.
Every time there's an advance in AI, we dismiss it. That, oh, well, that's not really AI. Chess, Go, self-driving cars. And AI, as you know, is the field of things we haven't done yet. That'll continue when we actually reach AGI. There'll be lots of controversy. By the time the controversy settles down, we'll realize that it's been around for a few years.
Yeah, so related. I think we'll go beyond human capabilities in many different areas, but not in all at the same time. So it will be an uneven process where some areas will be far advanced very soon or already to some extent, and others might take much longer.
What Bart said.
I think if it reaches the threshold where it's as smart as the smartest, most inventive human, then, it really could be, a matter of days before it's smarter than the sum of humanity.
So here we saw quite an interesting range of answers, and this I find is a very interesting question because for reasons that people here have published a lot of interesting papers about, the time scale makes a huge difference, right? If it's something that's happening on the time scale of the Industrial Revolution, for example, that's a lot longer than the time scale on which society can adapt and take measures to steer the development, borrowing your nice rocket metaphor, Jan. Whereas if things happen much quicker than society can respond, it's much harder to steer, and you kind of have to hope that you've built in a good steering in advance.